I'd like to apologize to everyone for not posting videos regularly lately. The reason is that I've been on a special work trip. Invited by the WWA charity organization to support medical facilities in under-resourced areas. After completing the journey, I had the chance to visit a local colleague's home. It was a small island, peaceful and breathtakingly beautiful, as if it were a slice of paradise. During my days on the island, I thought it would simply be a peaceful escape after a long work journey, until I began hearing the locals whisper about a mysterious curse tied to this island born from a volcano. My local colleague took me through breathtaking landscapes and unforgettable experiences that felt almost unreal. But the deeper I explored, the more I became drawn into chilling stories surrounding a strange disease that had once filled the islanders with fear, a secret that nobody seemed willing to talk about for too long. Then, in the depths of the ocean, I continued pursuing my passion for diving, something I've always loved because it allows me to witness the incredible creatures hidden beneath the deep blue sea. But that dive unexpectedly brought me closer to the truth behind the island's curse. When I met Uncle Kim, a man suffering from that mysterious disease. Let me tell you about that extraordinary journey, a trip I know I will never forget. At 6 a.m., we arrived at the harbor to check in and prepare for the boat ride to the island. As the boat sped across the ocean, I was even lucky enough to witness a school of flying fish soaring above the water, almost as if they were dancing with the sea itself. The boat moved incredibly fast, carrying with it my excitement and curiosity about the mysterious island ahead. On the very day I arrived on the island, a vibrant traditional boat racing festival was taking place. According to the local tour guide, this festival is held every year as a way for the islanders to pray for safety and good fortune for the fishermen who spend their lives out at sea catching seafood. The sound of pounding drums and cheering crowds filled the air, making the entire island feel alive with energy. The racing boats cut swiftly across the crystal-clear water, while the team shouted in perfect rhythm, creating a scene that was both breathtaking and full of spirit. Being able to immerse myself in such an exciting and meaningful celebration was truly an unforgettable experience for me. My local colleague took me to explore some of the most famous and breathtaking places on the island. Before my eyes were extraordinary volcanic rock formations shaped over millions of years, standing dramatically against crystal-clear turquoise water so transparent that you could almost see the ocean floor. What impressed me the most was a natural lava arch stretching out toward the open sea, a masterpiece sculpted by volcanic eruptions and powerful ocean waves over countless years. As evening fell, the entire island was bathed in the fiery orange and crimson colors of the sunset. The last rays of sunlight reflected off the ocean and the mysterious black volcanic rocks, creating a scene so mesmerizing that it felt as if I had stepped into another world. That afternoon, my colleague introduced me to Uncle Kim, the man who would accompany and guide me during my coral reef diving trip. Uncle Kim was born and raised on this island and had spent nearly his entire life connected to the sea. He loved the island in a very special way, so much so that it seemed as if he knew every corner, every story, and every hidden secret this place held. Although he was already in his 50s, Uncle Kim remained incredibly strong and fit, like a true fisherman shaped by the ocean. During the dive, he guided me through vibrant coral reefs and breathtaking underwater landscapes that only locals truly knew about. After that unforgettable diving experience, I had more time to sit and listen as Uncle Kim shared stories about the history of this beautiful island, along with the mysterious legends that had been passed down from generation to generation among the villagers. They were warnings about forbidden places where no one was ever supposed to go. Uncle Kim told me that the elders of the village always warned their children never to bathe in the stream located at the crater of the island's volcano. According to them, anyone who bathed in or drank from that water could become afflicted with a strange disease. A curse that, even to this day, no one has truly been able to explain. Just after mentioning the curse, Uncle Kim suddenly pulled a small towel from his pocket and quickly wiped away a dark red fluid flowing from his nose.
He cleaned it up so naturally, then smiled as if he had long grown used to it, but it was that calm reaction that caught my attention the most.
I started asking more questions, thinking that maybe I could help him somehow. Once he learned that I was a doctor, he slowly opened up and told me that this condition had been haunting him for the past 4 or 5 years. He had visited many hospitals and clinics, but everywhere he went, he received the same diagnosis: a simple nosebleed. The doctors explained that fishermen who spent long periods at sea often suffered from vitamin C deficiency, which could cause chronic nasal bleed. Even after taking medication and vitamin supplements for a long time, his condition never improved. Meanwhile, the villagers believed he had been cursed after bathing in the volcanic stream years ago. But I didn't believe in curses. From my medical experience, I could tell that this was far from an ordinary nosebleed. I introduced myself as an ENT specialist and offered to examine him more carefully, as I shined a flashlight deep into his nasal cavities. I immediately noticed something unusual. A small detail, but enough to trigger a troubling hypothesis in my mind. I suggested that he visit my colleague's clinic on the island, where modern ENT endoscopy equipment would allow me to get a much clearer look inside. But Uncle Kim simply smiled, thanked me, and politely refused. Perhaps after years of hearing the same diagnosis and receiving countless ineffective treatments, he had completely lost both patience and hope. After that evening, I said goodbye to Uncle Kim and returned to my hotel. But that night, one question kept circling endlessly in my mind. If this wasn't a simple nosebleed, then what was really growing inside Uncle Kim's body? The next morning, I decided to make my way to the volcano crater myself, the place where the secreted water Uncle Kim had mentioned was located. The crater of this island had been formed millions of years ago. Standing at the top, I could see the entire island stretched out before me. Deep blue coastlines surrounding mysterious black volcanic rocks. Over time, the massive crater had transformed into a natural basin, creating the island's largest freshwater lake. From the rocky cliffs around it, several small streams quietly flowed down into the mirror-like surface of the lake. The scenery was unbelievably beautiful. Yet, the deeper I walked into the area, the more I felt an unsettling atmosphere that was difficult to explain. A strange silence that made me feel both curious and uneasy at the same time. I approached the place that the locals believed to be the cursed water source. The very place said to have caused Uncle Kim's mysterious illness. I crouched down and filled a cup with the water to examine it more closely. At first glance, the water looked perfectly clear and harmless, but under the sunlight, I noticed several unusual details that immediately caught my attention. In that moment, the hypothesis forming in my mind became even clearer. Perhaps what Uncle Kim had been suffering from all these years was not a curse at all, but something hidden within this very water source. That afternoon, I contacted Uncle Kim again and tried to convince him to come to my colleague's clinic on the island for a more thorough examination. Something deep inside told me that this time, I might actually be able to help him. And fortunately, after some hesitation, he finally agreed to let me perform an endoscopic examination. The moment the endoscope entered deep into his nasal cavity, I knew my suspicion had been correct. This was absolutely not an ordinary nosebleed. Carefully guiding the tiny camera through the narrow passages and deep sinus cavities, I suddenly noticed something on the monitor. A small black moving spot inside the upper nasal passage of Uncle Kim,
before it quickly disappeared deeper into the sinuses.
What is that? What on earth is that thing? For a brief moment, my heart nearly stopped. Judging from its shape and movement, it looked like some kind of soft-bodied parasite. For years, that creature had been living inside Uncle Kim's nose, treating his body as its home. I immediately explained that he would need anesthesia so I could safely remove the foreign organism. If it had traveled deeper into the sinus cavities, surgery might be necessary. But unlike before, Uncle Kim no longer looked afraid. This time, he agreed almost immediately, perhaps because, for the first time in years, he finally felt there might truly be an answer to his mysterious illness. After nearly an hour of surgery, the real cause behind Uncle Kim's strange condition was finally revealed. It was 2 live leeches living inside his nasal cavity. Parasites capable of attaching themselves to the nose or ears of anyone exposed to contaminated freshwater sources. What sent chills down my spine was that even after being removed, the leeches were still moving violently. As I watched them writhing inside the stainless steel tray, I finally let out a long breath of relief. Uncle Kim would need to remain under observation for a few more days, but I was certain that the chronic bleeding that had haunted him for years would finally come to an end. Afterward, I asked my colleague to notify the island's health authorities so they could collect water samples from the volcanic stream for parasite testing. In truth, when I visited the stream earlier that morning, I had already noticed several leeches in the water. If the test results confirmed my suspicion, then the so-called curse that had terrified the islanders for so many years would finally be broken. And perhaps from that day on, the island would no longer be remembered for its frightening legends, but instead for the peaceful beauty it had always deserved, a true paradise island in the middle of the ocean. At the end of a day filled with meaningful moments, I felt truly happy knowing that I had finally been able to help Uncle Kim uncover the real cause of the illness that had troubled him for so many years. That night, I slept more peacefully than ever before. Early the next morning, I woke up to watch the sunrise over the island. As the sun slowly emerged above the horizon, painting the ocean in brilliant shades of orange and gold, the view was so breathtaking that I could only stand there in silence, completely mesmerized. The fresh morning air, the gentle sound of the waves, and the warm sunlight made the island feel even more peaceful and magical. On my final day before leaving the island, Uncle Kim unexpectedly invited me to his home. He told me he wanted to treat me to a very special dish, one that, according to him, only true fishermen ever get the chance to eat, and even money can't easily buy it. Later, I joined him on a small wooden boat as we slowly headed out to sea. Surrounded by the endless ocean, I was able to experience a traditional meal that fishermen often enjoy right on their boats after returning from fishing. The seafood was unbelievably fresh, carrying the pure salty flavor of the sea itself, and combined with the cool ocean breeze and the vast open water, it became an experience I know I will never forget. Even now, I still remember that incredible freshness, along with the endless beauty of the ocean that day, a simple yet unforgettable kind of paradise. The day finally came for me to say goodbye to my colleague and this beautiful island. Although the journey lasted only a short time, it left me with unforgettable memories, extraordinary experiences, and valuable lessons throughout my career as a doctor. As the boat slowly pulled away from the shore, the morning sunlight still shimmered across the deep blue ocean. Watching the island gradually disappear in the distance, I realized something important. Sometimes the most mysterious and frightening things do not come from supernatural stories or so-called curses passed down through generations, but from real dangers in life that we unknowingly ignore. Even though the curse of the island was finally explained, Uncle Kim's story became an important warning for all of us.
Symptoms that may seem simple, such as persistent nasal discharge, chronic nosebleeds, nasal congestion, or constant headaches, can sometimes hide far more serious causes than we ever expect. That is why we should never underestimate our health, nor blindly believe in rumors that lack scientific evidence. At the same time, protecting clean water sources is extremely important. Avoid using untreated stream water or natural water sources without proper inspection, because they may contain dangerous parasites invisible to the naked eye. This type of parasite can enter the human nose, throat, or ears through contaminated water sources. Throughout my medical career, I have encountered several cases where they crawled deep into a patient's ear, attaching themselves firmly and making the removal process extremely difficult. And perhaps the most meaningful lesson I carried home from this journey was a simple one. Sometimes the scariest thing is not a curse, but our own carelessness toward the warning signs our bodies are trying to give us every day. Awareness and timely medical care can sometimes save not only your own life, but also the lives of the people you love. If you found this story interesting and informative, don't forget to like and follow the Tien Tran Medic channel for more fascinating medical stories and real-life experiences. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer them for you.